This is TWiT.
Now, what I do have, and Mark Zuckerberg talked about it this week on at the Connect event, is the Meta glasses, which are getting smarter and smarter.
Yeah, people really like those.
This, you know what? Because they attempt so little.
Yeah.
There is an AI in it. You could say, what am I looking at? And it kind of gives you, I asked it, what am I looking at? And they said, well, there's a lot of screens and wires. It didn't really, let me see if I can, what am I looking at? I can't remember how I'm supposed to do this. Hey, Meta, what am I looking at? It's thinking.
Well, it's thinking.
You're looking at, oh, wait a minute.
Possibly used for live streaming or video production.
Possibly used for live streaming and video production. It actually understood what it was seeing, which is
there you go.
Pretty wild. You can take videos with it and pictures. And Mark says we're going to have a new version of these, which I think they are selling quite well because they just look like glasses, right?
Well, and that's a problem. And that's a problem that Friend Not Imaginary has too. At least 13 states have two-party consent laws. You can't just go around recording people.
Well, that's what that Limitless was supposed to get around was you have to ask permission. It won't record it if it doesn't recognize the voice. But if you ask permission and Denise and you said, yes, okay, then it would add it and it would start recording you as well. This see the little light that comes on when I record. Yeah. So you know, I mean, it's not.
It's not red. It's interesting they didn't make it red. They make it white. Yeah. So it's not the most obvious. It's not doesn't strike that same triggering feeling of like seeing a red light on a camera. Suddenly you're on
you right now.
It's a white light. But it's interesting that I'm really impressed by the success of these glasses, the Ray-Bans that Meta's had out. And I think a part of it is just that they don't look like tech glasses. They look like normal glasses. They don't make you look really nerdy and awful like the Google Glass did. And other like Snap's augmented reality glasses also look really silly. And I think a lot of these companies just underestimate how important people care, how much people care about what they look like when they wear tech.
Did you see,
and it has to disappear.
Apple has, I think, I've said this all along, but
they overshot.
I think Apple's kind of missed the boat with Vision Pro. It's $3,500, and I don't think anybody wants to strap a heavy computer on their face. I think that's really a lot of it. Meta's still going to sell their Meta Quest, but one of the things they talked about is Orion, which is not available yet. But in fact, Mark, the guy came out with a briefcase that was handcuffed to his wrist, and he said, "This is the only one of these." But they did show it to some people. They are working on it. They look like these, only they're a little thicker. I think, you know, this is something. There they are. There's the Orion glasses, and these are augmented reality. These have an interesting technology to kind of shoot video into your pupils as opposed to reflect them off the glass. Mm-hmm. I think that they're on the right track. But who knows how much it'll cost, whether, you know, what they'll be like or whatever. This is their first time they've talked about this. I'm very interested that Meta has basically, by the way, at Meta Connect, the developers conference, Mark didn't even say the word Facebook once. He mentioned Instagram, but I think really that Zuckerberg has decided we're going to take all the money we make off Facebook and ride it down into the sunset because the only people who use it now are older people. And then go into this VR, AR metaverse thing.
I mean, kind of has to, right? Because this is the problem with all these social networks is at some point you reach market saturation,
right? And
you just can't grow anymore. So as a company, what do you do then? You can't just be like, well, we're kind of fine this quarter too, right? Yeah. But if you go into other growth areas,
or you could
more opportunity.
Sell it to Elon Musk if you're cagey.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe he'll buy it.
But the hard part is that they don't have a platform associated with this technology, right? Because at least
they
Facebook
have Horizons.
And Instagram, they have Horizons, but no one. I mean, I have a Quest 3, and I've been in Horizon events in the Horizon rooms, and there's no one there. Yeah, there's no one there. It's like tumbleweeds. So
that was even the story a couple of months ago that even Meta's own employees don't ever use Horizon.
Yeah, why should they? There's nothing to do, and it's really there's a hardcore group of like I think small there's always like a community of people who will keep going because they
Right.
really get something out of it. But it's nowhere near getting mainstream success. If anything,
That's
I
right.
think user numbers have really declined significantly.
Is
on
that, do you think the case with
platform.
Vision Pro as well? With Apple's
Well,
product?
Well, I'm totally with you, Leo, on what you were saying. It's almost like they're trying to do too much
Yeah.
in one go, and people just aren't ready for it. But they don't do that. I don't think Apple has like a social platform for people to meet and
No.
mingle in virtual reality like
No.
Meta does.
No, they just
Honestly,
have that
I think
I
the
would
real
write
future
off Apple, though.
is not VR. The future is AR, and the idea that you could have these glasses on, look completely normal, well, nerdy, but normal, and be getting information through them. They showed a simultaneous translation, which is nerdy because you say something and then the person has to wait, and then the translation gives him the translation, then he responds. So there's this kind of lag in the conversation, but it is, you're having a real-time conversation with somebody in a language you don't speak. That's pretty cool. I think.
You know what the best part is?
What?
It's going to be used for ads at some point.
Oh God!
Just going to be walking around. It'll be just ads popping up as you in your real world.
It'll be Minority
Guarantee it.
Report.
Yeah.
Of course it will, because of course it will, because that's.
gotta
But
pay
it
for
was
it.
it was like you were saying, Daniel, in the very beginning when we were talking about Microsoft Recall. Like, how do people expect to use AI? Like, it's just going to be ingesting information, and people are just it's going to become normalized, and people are going to get used to it. And I think it's a similar situation with these glasses. The more the tech disappears and it doesn't look like tech anymore, and people don't realize or care as much that they're being filmed or being recorded, then there's just going to be a whole boatload of new data and information for Meta to ingest and use for ad targeting.
Yeah, look at
I've
the
always said that
watch.
these-
The Apple Watch was so novel when it first came out. Not very many people had them. Now, so many people have them.
Everybody
We don't
wears
even think twice about it. And to that point, Apple at one point partnered with Hermes to do an incredibly expensive watch band. I could see them, Prada makes eyewear. I could see them partnering up with somebody very high end and maybe trying to take the nerd edge off the product.
Yeah, we don't know that Apple's not doing the same thing Meta is and working on AR glasses at the same time as they did.
I mean, there's that rumor that they're doing a lighter version, right, to bring down the price, and like it won't have as many features, which I think seems obvious. I still think it's, we talked about this on the last time I was on here. They're starting from the wrong end. They went from let's put everything we can imagine and this crazy technology, and then whittle it down as we figure out what people don't want, versus starting off very simple, which is kind of what Facebook and Meta is doing here with these glasses, and then adding features as people want more things. I've always said with these AR glasses,
I was just to your point. That's how they did it with the iPhone, right? They didn't have a ton of apps on there. Exactly. It was just a few apps, start small, and then grow from there. Yeah. So it's weird that they did it in that opposite direction.
Your colleague at Bloomberg, who is probably the most connected Apple rumor guy, Mark Gurman, wrote in his Sunday newsletter today, Meta's new headsets show Apple has lost its way with the Vision Pro. Yeah, he believes that Apple, while they're working on other stuff, they just haven't really found a market for the Vision Pro. He says it wants to turn the product into a line of devices with different features and price points, but it's not starting from a rock solid foundation, to say the least. The headset is more of a technology showcase than a genuine consumer product. There's little reason for someone to buy a Vision Pro instead of a computer. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose if you were going to be generous, you could say, yes, this is a technology showcase. So now they're going to whittle things down and start with something a little bit more basic. But I don't know. It sounds like a strange strategy for Apple to
they're going to cut out a lot to get down to like where the Ray-Ban Metas are at this point. Like, I mean, you're just going to like throw everything out. I've always had these AR glasses too. Sorry, I was just going to say that like what would make them really fascinating is with those cameras, of course, is facial recognition. When you're talking to someone, it immediately looks them up and brings up their their name. Yeah, it's like
his name is Daniel Rubino. You used to work with him.
Just their LinkedIn, right?
Yeah. In 20 years, I'm going to need that. I'm just telling you, Daniel. And you are.
What school they went to and like conversation
how many kids they have.
That's what
But
I
then
meant
everybody's
when
gonna
I
be like-
said Gen X is going to sell their soul. They need that.
Yeah.
We
yeah,
need
totally.
That's another example of that.
Yes.
They're going to
And
be
you know
the early
what?
adopters.
I don't care
'cause they
if I
need it.
look at this picture of Mark Zuckerberg from Gurman's column. I don't care if I even look
Yeah.
like that. I don't care.
Oof. That's
I mean, even speaking to
yeah.
speaking to Denise's point there, it's like when Clear came out for the airport, I was like, yeah, and then TSA breathed, and I stacked them. I'm like, I don't care. Take all my fingerprints, bodily fluids,
Yeah,
as long as I can
cares?
go through security quicker. I don't care.
Would you do
Yeah, but
Sam
that's-
Altman's orb? Would you look into he's doing iris scans. You can't change your iris. He's doing iris scans and giving people a handful of WorldCoin all over the world. In fact, he's been kicked out of a number of countries because it's a little skeezy. But would you give him your iris? You gave the federal government
I gave
your
it to
iris.
Clear.
Yeah.
You gave it to
I don't know.
Clear, and that's a private company. I
that's
gave
right.
it to
Yeah.
the TSA for what do we call it? Pre-check.
It's worth it, right?
But to my point there being, I guess more sanguine about giving it to the U.S. government or a state government than I am to a private company. Witness 23andMe.
Yeah, I gave them my
Yeah.
spit, and
The
now
segue.
I don't know what's going to happen with it.
But also that's Clear is like that's one-to-one facial recognition, right? When you use facial recognition to unlock your phone, that's one-to-one. But using it in glasses for a more kind of one-to-many approach, where you're looking at a crowd of people or a random face comes up to you and then somehow that gets identified. That's a little bit more creepy, and I think in a problematic area when it comes to privacy, especially. That's where we're in surveillance territory.
Google said it had that capability years ago and declined to do it because of stalking and other issues. That you would
there's that
use
company,
it.
They
right?
shut that business down, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, I used to have a Hello doorbell, and it was supposed to recognize people when they came up to the door, and it didn't. And I think that's why they just didn't want to risk that.
There is a company though that was doing this or is doing this, right? But they're scraping the web for all these images.
Clearview
and they're
AI,
using
yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And very kind of suspect on it. On the other hand, by the way,
there you go.
if you go to Clearview AI, look at the headline: How Clearview AI helped shape the war in Ukraine. Great, great. On the other hand, if Taylor Swift uses AI as she does at her concerts to keep stalkers out, I support that. I think that's fine. So, as with all this stuff, it's really hard to find a bright moral line, yes or no, on this.
Well, anything that helps you keep the lawyers out, a la Madison Square Garden. Do you remember that
Yes.
story?
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's hysterical.
That was a crazy story.
MSG is owned by the Dolans, and he is kind of famously litigious. And he used the AI at both. It was not just Madison Square Gardens, but also I think at Radio City Music Hall. And very famously,
that was
last
the one,
Christmas, an attorney and her family tried to see the Rockettes Christmas show.
Yeah.
They let the family in, but they said, you cannot go in because you work for a law firm that we are in litigation with. And I don't know if did she sue? Does she have any grounds for suit? I don't know. She said it was very humiliating, and I guess it would be.
Yeah, I think there was some litigation over that. I don't know exactly what happened. I will Google in the background.
Yeah. The Dolans are... He also owns the Sphere in Las Vegas. I just feel like we shouldn't have billionaires. We should just legislate them out of existence. Forget all the other stuff. Let's just legislate billionaires out of existence. Hey, thank you for watching this little snippet from our big show, the News Roundtable, This Week in Tech. I'm Leo Laporte. Each week we cover the week's tech news, in-depth analysis, but it's also fun and engaging. You'll find it at twit.tv along with all of our shows. And if you want more, just hit the subscribe button, and we'll be sure to bring you a lot more great content. Thanks for listening.